In podcast 10, I spoke with Nathaniel Guttenberg. I've known him for about a decade. We've made lots of music together. In fact, I've made more music with him than I've made music with any other individual. He's a kind dude that's currently pursuing his master's degree. And he also is a drummer, a rap artist, a singer, and a music producer. I hope you can enjoy this conversation that I had with him. If you want to know what the topics are in this video, then you can look in the description box below. The podcast will now begin. Let's talk about the Grateful Dead. Have you gone to further concerts? Have you?
Yeah.
You have. Okay, what's that like? I've never been to one before.
Yeah. So I went to a further concert. The first one was like New Year's Eve 2012, I think. So it was especially crazy and it was in downtown San Francisco. Um and it's just nuts, man. It's like every kind of hippie that exists is kind of at these shows
Okay.
and they just kind of like take over the dance floor. There was a huge circle of people like with hand drums. They somehow got into the venue and like they start drum circles before the Grateful Dead or further came on. Um, Lots of weed smoke, lots of people eating mushrooms and that kind of stuff. But the music is really the best part about it. I don't know why I'm just so hooked on the Grateful Dead's music and further just exceeded expectations when I saw them.
Did you grow up listening to the Grateful Dead? Is there a certain level of nostalgia to it, or is that not the case and you just kind of resonate with the music once you?
No, it's definitely a little bit of both because my mom was super into them. So I heard some growing up,
Uh-huh.
but then like I never really chose to listen to them on my own until I went to college and someone else reintroduced them to me. Um, like once I started learning a little bit more about music and music theory, then it kind of makes their music even more interesting just because they play in like really weird scales and they use a lot of like Middle Eastern influence timing in their music too.
Hmm.
Um, yeah.
Okay, so with your studies of music, how did that change your perspective on listening to music and on making music? Because you're a musician, a singer, a rap artist, and you obviously listen to music, but yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, honestly, I kind of suck at music theory.
Okay.
So when it comes to making music, I feel like I don't use it as much, except for I know, like a C relates to an E and a G, like that's how you make a chord. So I guess a little bit of that is helpful.
Mhm.
But especially listening to music, yeah, when you hear something and you can just tell that, whoa, that's in a really difficult time signature those people just played in, or like they're singing some pitches that are really hard to reach with the human voice, stuff like that I think becomes more interesting too. But I wouldn't say I'm like a theory snob at all. Like some of the favorite people I played music with like never had an ounce of music education and they're just so good at playing and just able to do it by their ear, I guess.
Yeah, like a natural inclination or something like that.
Yeah, totally.
Okay, let's talk about your music. Have What are you dabbling in the most? Drumming, music producing, singing, rapping? Or are you kind of doing it all somewhat equally?
No, I haven't had anyone to jam with, and I'm like not great at practicing, so my drum set's kind of sitting there. I feel bad for it. I'm doing a lot of music production, and then when I feel motivated to it, I'm writing rap lyrics. But it's weird. Like I had like several months back, like kind of this winter, this past year, where I wasn't making any kind of music, and then the past couple months, I'm making like two or three beats a day and
Wow.
half the time the next day or whatever I go to listen and I'm like I don't even remember making the beat or quite how I did it, but
Mhm.
somehow it happened. um so that's been cool. It's always fun when like the muse just kind of hits you and you're able to create stuff.
Uh, do you ever find yourself in a position where you've like produced so much music that you like can't keep up with it, and then you have to like go back to it like either months later or years later to like check it out and see like if there's anything gold in there?
Oh, definitely. Like my memory card right now for my MPC, which is the machine I use to make a lot of the beats,
Hmm.
is full of stuff. Probably like 80% stuff I'm not gonna release because it's really not that good, but it was just fun messing around with at the time. And yeah, I really just kind of need to find more time so that I can go through and pick out ones that might be good enough to release or something. Because going and making beats is just something I do a lot when I'm feeling stressed or if I just want to relax even sometimes. So I go to it a lot of the time, and then obviously not every song is going to be great.
Yeah, that's
Is
cool.
that kind of how you work on your music process, or
Um, yeah, I think uh I too kind of use it as a way to express my different emotions, whether it's experience like emotions of elation, like I'm uh infatuated with a woman, or if it's experiences of like depression and frustration because my headspace is kind of like dark and I'm looking at the world in a very cynical place. But it's kind of just like this expression of the heart of emotions, of feelings. And then uh my my approach to producing music is very rushed, is it's very like anxious and rushed, and it's like I just got to get this over with so I can sing on something.
I know what you mean sometimes.
Because I just want to I just want to express the feelings, and the music part, I don't know, sometimes I'll have more patience and be like I gotta get something good. But almost because I don't have like much experience with studying music theory, and don't I never really things never really clicked for getting how to like make music good, then a lot of it is just like luck. But I guess even like with art, I've studied a lot of art, but like even with art, it's like getting something good is luck. But actually I feel like the more I've studied it, the more luck I seem to be able to produce. So I don't know, maybe I just haven't studied enough music, so I rely more on luck to come up with something
No,
workable.
I think that's a really good point because I feel like there's a lot of luck involved with it, especially like, I'll choose a random song to sample, like just put Spotify or something on shuffle and then decide I'm going to sample it.
Uh-huh.
Um, and that's kind of how I do a lot of the stuff. I'll choose like a random drum kit and be like, okay, somehow I'm going to make a song with this drum kit now. And the kind of randomness really adds to the luck of it because it's, maybe I didn't select a great drum kit for this and it's not going to sound good, or maybe it will. And I don't know. I guess that's part of the fun of it for me is seeing if I can make something work or not.
Yeah. And then also like whether it's good or not is so like subjective, and like it's interesting how I remember this one talk about this woman, and she was talking about how the people around her that, I think if I remember correctly, that like she respected, like if they didn't like a song that she was really hyped on, then it would change her psychological perception on the song. Whereas before, if she liked it, so it's almost like she like needed to like have it verified by her close friends almost or something. And then I don't know, the process of unfolding of like, is this good or not? Like, because like there's been times where I'm like, this is incredible, but then I share it with others and they're like, meh. And then I'm like, okay, maybe it's not so incredible. But then it's like maybe you could find someone else that would think is incredible, but maybe that person is like living in Timbuktu. I don't know. It's what's good and not good is so probably complex and depends. Yeah, I don't know.
Totally. I mean, yeah, I think that's kind of why. I mean, there are a bunch of, like I said, beats that I just not releasing, but I also have a tendency to release a lot of stuff that I make without really choosing whether it's good or not,
Mhm.
because I know I can get hung up on that forever and be like,
Yeah.
yeah, none of my friends are liking it, or no one's liking the song on SoundCloud. But if I can just release it into the world, I feel a lot better, whether or not, I know if someone else likes it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard to what did as you know, I think it was the lead singer of Block Party, the band Block Party, he was saying something like uh we can make the best music we can, but we can't control how other people digest it or not. Like that's pretty much it. So it sounds like you're doing that. So yeah,
That's a cool quote. Yeah, totally.
cooking up some music. Um, okay, so in the past you were more involved with acting and improv, right?
Yeah,
So how does that integrate in your life today? Because as far as I'm aware, you're not as involved in that as you used to be, or not involved in that anymore at all. But like, I'm sure that kind of practice and that whatever techniques you're using, that has integrated into your life. So like, how does that still play a role in your life to some degree or another?
definitely. Yeah, I mean, especially with improv, I feel like that just it kind of helps with everything in life because so much of life is improvised, you know, we can't really predict or control much. And so I'm not always good at being in that mindset, but if you can be in that mindset that it's like, you know, okay, my day is just an improv class and I'm going to have to respond to things or have a conversation, but I don't know what I'm going to say. But the improv background, I guess it just helped me kind of more accept that. And then it makes things easier to flow. And with acting, I really use that in situations, especially where I'm like nervous or intimidated, and I just try to pretend that, you know, I'm the not nervous version of Nathaniel or something. Um,
That's awesome.
and yeah, it's like a way of pretending I'm a character for a little bit to push through some of those harder psychological moments. Um, and I miss it too. If I had more time or whatever, especially improv, I think I could, but with theater it's like you have to be at rehearsals 5 days a week, then the rehearsals are like 8 hours, and it's just a lot, but I
Yeah,
miss it.
there's so many things that are fun to do in life, but there's only so much time. We can't do it all.
Exactly.
We have to pick and choose our fun activities.
And
Okay.
it sorry,
No, go ahead. Yeah.
I was just gonna say also the improv has really helped me like as a drummer because like it's really influenced me to play more kind of an improvised style when I play with people. And there's just something really fun both about acting and music when you're improvising and like you and your partners that you're working with come up with something good. It I don't know, like to me it feels better than if I wrote a song with people and we performed and it went so great than if we went out and just had an improvised jam and it went well. That's like it feels like a monumental like feat kind of.
Yeah, there's something exciting about kind of diving into the waters of experimental improvising and really playing with the moment of uncertainty and chance and luck and yeah, intuition and yeah, it's kind of more exciting playing in the space of the unknown.
Yeah.
Yeah, I 100% agree. It's like that's like there's like so much creative potential, but then there's like the possibility of failure, and then you're dealing with like this anxiety and potential for finding gold, and it's like yeah, it just really gets the energy excited. At least that's how I
Yeah.
feel.
Yeah, it's like I'm not a thrill seeker, but that's like that's close to, you know, the thrill seeking for me is kind of being on the edge, like you're saying. It's like being a trapeze artist, I guess.
Yeah,
Kind of, not really.
because once you diverge from like what you know works and you go into out of that space, then you're to some level or another taking a risk. I mean, based on how good of a musician or whatever medium you're talking about, whether it be art or you like acting, like you can uh more or less uh
We lost it.
my brain has stopped working. Anyways, did you want to
No,
say?
I'm good. That's improvising right there.
Exactly. Great. Okay, let's talk about memes. You've been posting quite a bit of memes on your Facebook. Um, what speaks to you about memes? Is it kind of just like you're on a search for memes, or and then you find one and then
No, really, I've gotten away from posting as much personal stuff or things like that on Facebook and social media because it just doesn't seem to turn out well half the time. So I just happen to like all these meme pages, and when I see something that's goofy, I've been sharing it.
I
But
see.
probably my favorite memes are just the absurd ones. Like I love absurdity. Um, and like there's one I shared recently where it's just like the salmon, and there's just text in front of the salmon that says salmon is short for Samantha.
Mhm.
Which is just ridiculous and dumb and like a dad joke, but it made me laugh. So I'm like, I'm gonna share that.
Yeah, that's dope. I I don't know why people think it's funny to like listen to something that's so absurd, but like it makes us laugh. Like I remember when me and friendly Henry, if anybody doesn't know who Henry is, he's a friend, me and Nathaniel's friend from a long time ago, another creator artist. Me and him when we were kids, we used to be so absurd, like we were just being absolutely crazy, and well, the stuff that we were doing didn't make sense at all, but like it made us laugh so much, so we just kept doing it. But yeah, I don't know why things that are illogical make people laugh, but it's an interesting part of life.
Yeah, it's been a thing of mine since I was a kid too. I used to like make up characters and I would switch my voice and have all these characters I was being and stuff. And I don't know, I never really grew out of that. I just have to act more normal now sometimes since I'm an adult.
Yeah, it's always nice when we have like we meet someone that we feel like a safe space where we can be like that weird kind of person again, and not be so concerned about other people taking
Exactly.
our behavior and then gossiping about it, or criticizing us and it affecting our self-esteem or whatever. Yeah, yeah. Okay, so let's talk about, I mean, both you and me to some degree, we delve into the realm of spiritual quotes. And I mean, we're both to some degree interested in hippie culture, and some of hippie culture is kind of interested in love and being present in the now. And what role does that kind of play in your life? And what does that path look like for you now? Um, yeah.
That's a big one.
You don't have to just talk too much about it, but if there's anything you're
No, it's
inspired by, yeah.
yeah. It's a big part of like what I've, wanted my life to be the past like decade since I've known you. Like, I feel like I'm always kind of working towards being in the present moment and also not working towards it, which is kind of the whole like, duality of it. But
Yeah.
and sometimes I get there more than other, but it really does play a critical role in my life because when I can really try to focus on the present and focus on love, that's when I'm feeling the best and I know that I'm, kind of being the best I can be probably as a human being. So that stuff's super important to me. And like as far as, people and whatever, Ram Dass is probably one of the most influential I guess thinkers or like teachers for me personally. And I have his book, Christopher the Mill.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, I read that book. I love that book. That's inspired. I forget often what was in that book, but I remember enjoying it, and I remember just the title often comes to my mind. I'm like, this is all grist for the mill, whether it's like something good or bad. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. His philosophy, I mean, which I guess isn't really his philosophy, it's kind of like a Buddhism philosophy, but I really like it. And him and Thich Nhat Hanh, who just passed away this past year,
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
his book Pieces. I think it's Pieces Every Breath. He had a bunch of them, but just the idea of really being in the moment when you're doing something like washing the dishes or whatever that you normally would think is a chore, and just kind of having this childlike view of the world. It kind of makes, yeah, it makes sense that that would make people happier, and when I try to focus on that, it works for me.
Rad. One Thich Nhat Hanh quote that I came across yesterday was, "Our own life has to be our message." That's a quote by Thich Nhat Hanh. I like that one.
That's really cool.
Yeah. Do you know Duncan Trussell?
Yeah, I've seen him like a few times on Joe Rogan's show, but I know he has his own podcast, right?
Yeah, and then he's kind of like, because there's like a whole new offshoot with Ram Dass's kind of tribe and his community. And to some degree or another, Duncan Trussell has been like kind of dabbling in that tribe, which is, yeah, an interesting
Oh,
tribe.
cool.
Yeah, it's an interesting tribe because like the Ram Dass tribe, the one that's still alive today, it's like somewhat Hindu practitioners, somewhat Buddhist practitioners, and then a lot of them are kind of like these people from hippie backgrounds. So it's kind of this eclectic Western spiritual lineage that's kind of come about, and it's kind of, yeah. Have you
What do you
seen?
think? What do you think of them? Like, does it seem legit to you, or is it like too much of an amalgam of all these different beliefs and stuff?
I personally have biases to believe certain things about what how life works because that those
Sure.
beliefs just work better for my particular mental disposition now. But ultimately, I don't know how life works. I really don't get it. I don't know. Um, Sometimes I like to think I do, especially when I look at other people's thoughts that I don't believe. Then I'm like, that's not right. I know what's right, but ultimately, I don't know. And so, as long as whatever any kind of group, whether it's that eclectic tradition from the Ram Dass lineage or some other group, as long as they're not harming anybody, and as long as like the teachings are like bringing about some level of contentment in people's life or joy or fun, it's helping them to alleviate their suffering or inspiring them or elevating their experience of life through altering their perceptions on how they're projecting things on life or perceiving the world, then uh, it doesn't really matter to me what if a person is part of an eclectic or Puritan tradition. It doesn't matter. It's all good. Yeah.
Totally. No, I was just wondering like if it's still kind of like the same stuff that Ram Dass is teaching, or if like with all these new people coming in, if they like expanded on teachings, but I'll have to check that out.
Yeah. I mean, what is his name? Ram Dass's main guru. He had like I was obviously influenced by Chogyam Trungpa, the Tibetan master, but his main teacher was like a Hindu teacher from India. I don't remember his name, but
Is that
I th
Papa G or something?
no, I don't think so. It could be though. Maybe that's another one of his names. I thought it was like uh Nareem Karol Baba or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
yeah.
that's right.
I'm not pronouncing it right. I don't think, but I think that's something like that. But maybe he has multiple names, so maybe we're talking about the same guy. But I think they all still like a lot of those people perceive that teacher as at least one of their teachers, if not their main teacher. And um uh but yeah, I don't know. I think it's dope. I think it's a cool tradition, and I wish the best for them. And sometimes I listen to their teachings and their podcasts and find some inspiration through from their stories or from their teachings. So yeah,
Very cool. Okay.
yeah. But I think it's cool to see Duncan taking those ideas and bringing them mainstream on Joe Rogan's podcast, in his comedy, his podcasts, and in the he did a Netflix cartoon series that had a lot of like spirituality mixed into it, and uh it's called The Midnight Gospel. Definitely recommend it if you haven't seen it.
I
And
I loved it. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Cool, Nathaniel. Thank you so much for jumping on the podcast and doing this talk with me.
Take
Huge, huge.
care and yeah, I'll talk to you soon.
Okay. Peace, buddy. Thank you so much for jumping on.
Yep.
If you have any interest in checking out any of the music that Nathaniel has produced over the years, then you can look at the description box below this video to find the links to his SoundCloud, his Bandcamp, and his YouTube channels.
Thanks for listening to the podcast, and have a nice day.